something to the church and change the church in some way in order to resurrect it. Sorry, pun unintended. But, I mean, oh, you get there. So, the idea of salvaging a church means, changing church doctrine. And I have a problem with this. Because Father Tony Flannery spoke about how the church is about the message of Jesus Christ. And this is its sole purpose, to spread this message. It's not about change or modernization. The question is, do we want the message that was spread 2,000 years ago by a guy in the Middle East? And I'm arguing no. And the reason I'm arguing this is because the substantive messages, substantive moral messages, we probably shouldn't keep entrenched in both, actual national law and in canon law for 2,000 years. I think this prevents development. But first of all, I'm going to talk about that second of all. But first, I'm going to talk about, the procedural change which could happen in the church to salvage it. And, which doesn't change the substantive values that they have, and that they have not done, despite the fact that this wouldn't change the church in a substantive sense, and they still refuse to do that to salvage themselves. So first of all, I want to talk about validating the systematic violence that the church has committed against minorities. So, people in the church did terrible things to vulnerable people, and the church aided and abetted them by covering up their acts and allowing them to continue by switching up priests' parishes and such and that. I mean, that's quite obvious. They apologised to an extent nowhere near the amount they should have, in my opinion, and I think in the opinions of most of the people in this room. But the problem in the church isn't merely the abuse itself or the lack of adequate apology, although that is a massive amount of it. The fact that they haven't changed the procedures that allowed these things to happen in the first place is my real problem with that. To this day, they maintain, their insular canon law that allowed this to happen on a worldwide scale. They continue to insulate themselves against external checks and balances. To this day, they continue to refuse to hand over documents from Rome that law enforcement in this country asked for. Even if nothing bad ever happened, and even if there was no, evidence of abuses of power, even if there was, no real risk of this ever occurring in the future, I still wouldn't feel comfortable salvaging that. And that's because no institution should have power over the state to punish the most horrific indictable offences, I should punish in inverted commas there, obviously, and get away with not disclosing them, even if there's no risk of these things ever happening. It's abhorrent that the system exists, and that it should be allowed to exist. And if the church didn't have this whole, we've got God on our side thing, I highly doubt that it would continue to exist. So, moving on to about entrenching moral views for 2,000 years, and why they might be problematic. No, thank you. Okay. So, what is a church, generally speaking? The whole common, faiths, the most common faiths, like Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, etc. People buy into the church because they believe in the tenets of the church, and they want to, act in the way that the church, tells them that they should act. And, there's a massive amount of power over these people because the afterlife is obviously important to them. If they want to get to the afterlife, if they want to be reincarnated, they have to follow these tenets in order to, achieve enlightenment in that way. Therefore, followers are actually not really that, likely to question the acts that they're doing and the beliefs that they believe because of this. And so, churches stem development of values because they don't actually ask people to question why they're doing what they're doing. And people who do question that are, accused of heresy. Yeah, go for it.
That's just, we're talking about moral issues here in the West, but in countries like South Africa or Central America that I've been to, priests have been killed, their heads have been chopped off, because they challenged this allied capitalism. And, the business leaders didn't like it. The church is challenging social issues, but just not issues that we think they should challenge here in Ireland.
Okay, so I disagree with people chopping people's heads off in general. I disagree with people challenge I disagree with I disagree with an awful lot of capitalism. I disagree with people not being allowed to challenge lots of things. I think people should challenge things. I think that you're saying that that people are just because some people challenge capitalism that we shouldn't challenge. So can you clarify that again, please?
Sorry. My point is that you're saying that they're promoting things that aren't relevant, but they are challenging social issues in these countries.
Okay, my problem is the fact that when you challenge the actual the church are challenging some social issues in these countries. I think the most important people to challenge are the church because every time you challenge them, they say, "Oh well, you're not going to go to heaven." I think that's an awful lot more powerful than the things that we challenging. I think that we should basically challenge the church, and because I feel it's an awful lot more important to challenge the moral values than it is. While we should also challenge the capitalist system that we live in, I think we should also challenge homosexuality, when you do challenge their balance and contraception, you're accused of heresy. Like, especially churches with with a spiritual monopoly on a community, like the Catholic Church in Ireland, because there's no opposition to them. Because other people who follow other religions in the same communities are demonized, not currently at the moment, but in places like Africa at the moment, people who where the